Support comes from Hampton Roads Community Foundation, partnering with donors from all walks of life to improve southeastern Virginia through grants, scholarships, and leadership initiatives. Learn more at hamptonroadscf.org.
Hello, everyone. I'm Barbara Hamley. After 43 days, the longest federal shutdown in history is over, and federal workers are returning to their jobs. But millions of Americans remain food insecure, as there is no specific date for when SNAP benefits will resume. President Trump blames Democrats for the shutdown, and Democrats blame Republicans for not wanting to continue federal subsidies to keep healthcare premiums affordable. Today's Another View is all about the impact of politics on our everyday lives. Our roundtable pundits are here, and they are ready to weigh in right after this national, regional, and local news from NPR and WHRO News.
Discussing today's topics from an African-American perspective, this is Another View.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Another View. I'm Barbara Hamley. Lots going on today, and we have a lot to talk about, but let me tell you about two quick things that are happening in the community. Tomorrow, Hampton Roads is hosting a major symposium on the American Revolution. It is at the Slover Library from 9 until 5 o'clock tomorrow evening, and it is called Competing Freedoms, Hampton Roads at the Start of the American Revolution. Now, this symposium is a part of the Virginia 250 effort as we start to celebrate the 250th anniversary of this country. And what is so interesting is that many of the speakers that will be there have been guests on Another View, such as James Ingram Jr. He is an ordained minister, and he plays Gowan Pamphlet, who was the pastor who started First Baptist Church Williamsburg, the third oldest Baptist church. It started in 1776, so the third oldest Baptist church in the country. So he will be here. He's been a guest on our show before. If you remember, well, obviously, Dr. Cassandra Newby-Alexander will be there. She has been on our show many, many times. And if you will remember, a few months ago, we did a show on the Black Loyalists. These were enslaved people who were promised by the British that they would be set free if they fought for Britain. And Andrea Davis and Graham Nickerson were our guests at that time. They will be here also. This symposium is free. It's open to everyone, but you must register. So go to sloverlibraryfoundation.org/events. That's sloverlibraryfoundation.org/events. And also, the Urban League of Hampton Roads is doing a holiday food drive. We know that this is a really trying time for a lot of our families and our communities. So the Urban League, in collaboration with Avalon Bay Communities, Walmart, and Ebenezer Baptist Church, they are going to be doing a Thanksgiving dinner giveaway, and it is completely free to anyone, but it is on a first come, first served basis. It is Saturday, November the 22nd, so that's a week from this Saturday. Turkeys will be distributed between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. or until supplies last. And the location is Ebenezer Baptist Church, 965 Baker Road in Virginia Beach. And they're going to have free turkeys, all the holiday fixings, and everything to have a complete Thanksgiving meal. So get there early, because sadly, so many of us will need that help. And so we want you to come out and make sure that you can have a good holiday. So with the help of 8 Democrats, the Senate managed the 60 votes needed to approve a bill to reopen the government. And last night, the House approved the bill and President Trump signed it. The federal government is open again, but the move has caused a rift within the Democratic Party because the bill does not include plans to continue federal subsidies to keep healthcare insurance premiums affordable. In the midst of all of this, Virginia voted blue. Can't even get that out. Virginia voted blue. Is this the foretelling of things to come? Our Another View Roundtable pundits have some opinions, so let's meet them. Daun Hester is an educator and a politician. She was just reelected the treasurer for the city of Norfolk, and she has a new job, which we're going to talk about in a few minutes, aren't we?
Okay, if you say so. Hey, y'all. Hello, everybody.
How are you? Gaylene Kanoyton is the first vice chair of the Democratic Party of Virginia, president of the Hampton NAACP, and president of Celebrate Healthcare. How you doing?
I'm ready to go.
You ready to go?
I'm fired up.
Allison Moore is an award-winning clean stand-up comedian, producer, and host of the More Laughing in the Morning talk show on Sky 4 TV and the More Laughing at Work podcast on Google Play, among a bunch of other things. How are you?
I'm doing good. Hey, y'all. Hey.
Good. Hey, it's good to see you. And joining us by phone as he works his way here to WHRO is political and legal analyst Dr. Eric Claville, creator of the award-winning Claville Report, heard right here on Another View. Hey, Eric.
Hey, Barbara, how are you?
Doing
Hello,
good.
everybody.
Good. Be safe as you're driving in, but we look forward to seeing you here in the studio in just a little bit. So, 43 days. No paychecks for federal workers, travel nightmares at airports, food insecurity, and Democrats didn't get what they wanted. Was it worth it, Dawn?
The people got what they needed. So it's a hard call to make. I'm sure it was a hard call for the senators. But the people the country needed some relief. That's my take. Everybody doesn't agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's more about the people. I don't know that we're going to get, and when I say we, Democrats are going to get what they want on health care. I do believe that we need to do as many extensions of this tax credit as possible. And the reason for that is because there's no other plan on the table to review or to discuss.
Yeah.
And so until those conversations are had in good faith, and at this juncture, we don't know what in good faith from
the current administration.
Right. So, you don't know what you have. At least with this, we know what we have. I think everybody's acknowledged that it's a challenge, but it was a challenge to put it in place in the first place. But it was necessary. And we're talking about 20 million people who could potentially lose or see major increases in their health care.
Eric, your take. Was it worth it? The shutdown?
Well, Barbara, I agree with Gaylene.
That was Dawn.
When she said that.
That was Dawn.
Gaylene ain't
Oh,
spoken
I'm sorry.
yet.
Dawn.
Dawn,
yeah. I definitely agree with the new treasurer. Congratulations, Dawn. With what she stated as it relates to people got what they needed. People need a paycheck, right? And when you work one week without a pay, it hurts. 2, it hurts hard. A month, 45 days, it's almost unsustainable for a lot of people. However, from a strategic standpoint, it was definitely a bad deal for the Democrats. Here's the reason why. Polls showed that the Republicans were shouldering this shutdown. Polls showed, of course, through the election, that a Democratic wave, voters spoke. I always say as Virginia goes, so does the rest of the country. And with that being the case, Virginia is, pun intended, the cardinal in the coal mine. This is an indication of what is to come in 2026 and how the country is souring on the policies and the actions of the Trump administration. Again, a lot of promise coming in through his administration, but they are now souring on the hope of those promises actually happening. You can look no further than the veterans and farmers, and of course what's happening here in Hampton Roads. When you talk about the Affordable Care Act, and 20 million people possibly lose health care, that doesn't include every American that will see increase in premiums, double across the board, and some even more so in other states. It definitely was the best option on the table because it had been implemented, it worked, And of course, it was something that the country needed when you talk about health care, and also that because the health of a nation is very important to its political, economic, and social viability. Mm-hmm. So now that that's taken away and that money is now given to the top earners in our country, and even more so the more wealthy, there's going to be a lot of struggle. There's going to be a lot of issues, and when it's impossibly braced for another shutdown, we'll talk about the intricacies of that in a moment. But to answer your question, it was definitely a bad strategic move
for them to as some describe it, cave.
Absolutely, because here's what's going to happen, Barbara, very quickly. Mm-hmm. If paychecks would have been missed on the 15th, there would have been calls from Republican districts from corner to corner of the political map in order for them to negotiate with Democrats, because there was no way that turkeys were not going to be on the table or Christmas gifts under the tree this holiday season. So I think it was an opportunity missed for the Democrats, and those 8 senators, which most are not running for re-election, actually, and some not coming back to the Senate, actually spearheaded and signed with the Republicans.
Okay, Allison.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's now going to leave us more vulnerable than before. Because, if I'm going to get real social with you, a lot of the minorities in they was already fired. Their departments was already cut. They was already outside. So the people that was hollering the loudest were the Republicans. And those people that they forgot are a part of the lower income communities that needed their paychecks. It's not just black and brown people who are living paycheck to paycheck. We have never stopped saying we're living paycheck to paycheck. So our alarms were not louder this time, but the Republicans' alarms were louder. So we just lost our leverage. To me, it was like, well, what you make us wait for? Y'all came out with nothing. Baby, let me tell you something. I would have said to my kids, you go back out there and get something. Like, why? What? Nothing? So it's definitely frustrating, and I do see in the people who are just trying to figure out, do I even want to play the political game? It was just a setback. It was an L across so many lanes. It's like, that's why I don't do politics. Now we got to hear that again. It's just messy, and I don't understand it. My only hope is, okay, there's something that we didn't see. Maybe they really riding on getting that lady sworn back in. These Epstein files is coming out, which I see those disappearing by a millisecond. So I don't know, but it feels like a L, huge L, that now leaves us vulnerable to the madness. I told you I didn't rock with y'all before. I'm never going to rock with you all. I wasn't going to negotiate. We're not going to negotiate. I don't help.
Gaylene, the part of what the deal was that they did sign was that by mid-December, that there would be a discussion among the senators about the Affordable Care Act. But do you think that is going to actually happen?
Let me just say this. The billionaires are the only one who won this thing.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay? They're the only ones. And do you honestly think that if they wanted to carry this on into the next year, it would have been still carried on? I don't care what the base says. Because if you look at what this administration is doing, they're not looking at their base. He's doing what the hell he wants to do. So at the end of the day, that's my wheelhouse is the healthcare insurance.
Right.
And I have people who insurance has already risen, and they have to have, either they can't afford to get insurance and need surgery and might end up dying, or you got a family who can't be fed. The parents can't feed their children. So you got sick people versus hungry people. And you have a king at the head of all of this. This falls right into the hands of Project 2025 of causing chaos. So when you look at the deal, no, the deal ain't going to go through. And of course, he want to have Trump care and take out Obamacare. Let's get to the root of all this thing. It's the name. It's like at the end of all of this thing right here. And then today, Mike Johnson says, or last night says, we got a multitude of ideas. Well, what were the ideas before? You talk about...
they've been promising these ideas for a long time, but we haven't seen anything.
At the end of the day, what out the deal, and I'm not out the deal was everyone who had lost their jobs October 1st got their jobs back. Okay? SNAP was funded to the end of September. There's several things that was in the deal that came up. So they didn't actually come out with nothing They did come out with feeding people, but if they're not
But
healthy.
they haven't said when SNAP benefits are going to start again.
Well,
I mean, I know they're supposed to start
No,
soon.
he signed it. It's supposed to start like right away.
Everything I've read today, because I was looking for that specifically, like, is there a date where people can say, okay, if I can make it till Saturday or if I can make it till Monday, I know my SNAP benefits will be there. And I haven't been able to find anything about that, Dawn.
No, that was supposed to start right away.
It's supposed to start right away, and I know that they are back in the office. Those
I know
who
the
are
workers
working,
back in. Yeah.
right. But then you got to put all the systems in place and make sure all the buttons are pushed so that everything goes out to all of the states. So I can see that taking a few days. I know that they're in there working hard to get that done. But ASAP, what is ASAP? We don't know that.
But at the end of the day, it's a loss on both sides. Okay, because you got people who got to catch. When America starves, Black America starves 3 times as hard. You know that. So we know that this really impacted Black folks too. This with the SNAP. And then you had the president sending out letters to the governor saying, don't fund SNAP. Yeah. Telling retailers don't accept SNAP. I mean, that's crazy. I mean, it's a perfect diabolical storm.
I really did find it very hard to fathom any human being that would allow things to happen so that people can't eat. I mean, Allison.
Yeah, so I do agree that it was a L. On the other side called it L too, but in a different way. I think it was a short-sighted play for the MAGA movement. It's a shake-up in that universe. In the MAGA-verse, they going down. Let me tell you, the heads of the crazy is going at it. I'm telling you, I'm reporting live from the Wi-Fi University, from Wi-Fi.
So what
field.
are you seeing online?
Candace Owens, the Nick Fuentes, the Shapiro, they going at it. What's his name? The round head, he look like the Potato Man. Hold on, I don't want to head shame anybody, but Carson, whatever his name is, Tucker Carlson. They are going at it. Megyn Kelly, all of them. And so I do think that.
What are they going at it? What do you mean
they
by
have
that?
Differences of what America first means versus how much support are we giving over to Israel versus some of them want out. Some of them they see themselves beyond Trump, and so now they're trying to position their new. MTJ, she trying to get herself ready. I think this girl thinks she's gonna run for something. Like, we didn't forget that she was crazy. So I do think that this shutdown has made people. The farmers they're upset.
Now, the farmers pissed.
Yeah. So some of the really hardcore base, they're like, hold on now, you can play it in my face, and they're being pressed because you have people saying at the end of the day, y'all gotta admit y'all was racist, and they don't have anything else to hide behind. They can't say, well, no, it's because he care about the Epstein, it's because I care about the job. Like, everything was exposed from the shutdown. So I do think that's going to hurt them for those who want to be reelected and things. But it was a huge erode of public trust on both sides. And so I think that's a part of why Mondami... Hold on, wait, that sounds like humor, don't it? Hold on.
Mondami.
And then you see on social media where he said, my name is... Anyway, focus. But I think that's why people like him are getting in and getting a lot of attention.
The new mayor of the city of New York.
Of the city of New York.
But also you got to remember... The government is only funded to the end of January. Okay,
well, that part.
So
now
this train can start all over again.
And I hope it's.
Well, that's what the fight is now: is to make sure that you put pressure on your legislator to make sure that they push this ACA, because at the end of the day, I know the Republicans, they'll come up with that. But you know what? As I said, and I'm saying it all the time, feeding your family, having a job, and having health care is not a partisan issue. It is a right and not a privilege.
Some of us consider it a right and not a privilege. Well, I don't think all elected officials do.
I know. I agree, but I'm saying, but it's a right.
It is. And I'm interested in looking at how 2026 plays out. I know I'm going further down the line than you wanted to, because I think in districts that some electeds consider safe because they've been drawn for them to be safe, I don't think they're going to be safe, because all of these situations are impacting everybody
Yeah.
in some way.
I think that's the difference this time around. Do you
Correct.
think that because, as you said, Gaylene, these are basic tenets to living, healthcare, food, a job, that everybody experiences, regardless of race,
Right.
gender, or any of it.
This past election wasn't a partisan election. It wasn't about Democrats winning. It was about the kitchen table winning. I mean, they were hearing all this great stuff from the president, saying everything wonderful, and then they look in the refrigerator and say, "Wait a minute, no, it's not."
Mm-hmm. I don't have as much food in here.
I think that
Go ahead.
that food,
Allison.
that right versus the privilege, and that food piece was so exploited in a social way when people were frustrated by or calling out what people were putting in their grocery baskets. Based, well, you on food stamps? Why you eating cookies and have the nerve to eat crab meat? Like it got real clear down to the core of who we are as society, with like some weird theologies or some weird philosophies. Broke people shouldn't be eating good, or you definitely shouldn't have nothing that tastes good. And so I think across the board, how people were thinking in the inside, that heart stuff was coming up, and people are like not happy about it.
Dr. Eric Claville has reached us in the studio. Thank you, Eric. We're glad. And actually, I'm glad that you sat down, because my next question
Right on time.
is to you, which was, there was a split between the senators of Virginia.
Yeah.
Senator Kane voted to open the government. Senator Warner said, I just can't go there. And so he did not. Is there a time where, even though people are hurting, you have to stick to the talking points, if you will, or stick to your guns until the change happens?
Well, to answer your question to that, the answer is yes. We started doing the civil rights movement. There was a lot of pain during that time period, whether it be the bus boycotts, whether it be various boycotts to very grocery stores, outlets. There was a lot of pain in the Black community, even with white allies as well, in order to, again, change the system. When you talk about the split, is a split of ideology, but also a split of politics. Mark Warner is running for re-election in 2026. Tim Kaine is not. He's good for another 4 years now. I mean, coming up in 28. So he's good. So when you actually 29. So when you take a look at what's happening, it's politics. When you look at the independent out of Maine and then New Hampshire, and then Dick Durbin not running for re-election, and then Kaine not up for re-election as well. You had 8 senators who were centrists, moderates from a political standpoint, and then also those that didn't have anything at stake politically hanging in the balance, because we know in politics have very short memories, because especially now when you see what's happening. You mentioned, Daun, something about what's happening. I'm sorry, was it Daun or Gaylene?
It doesn't matter.
Guess whose
it was
voice
mentioned.
this is?
about something funded in January. So to your point,
That was
Gaylene,
Gaylene.
there we
That'd
go.
be
There we go. So what we'll see is that there more than likely will be another shutdown.
It will be.
And it happened again. It happened before during the second longest shutdown during the first Trump administration. There was a shutdown again. It was very short, 17 some odd days, but we're going to see that again because of the push for health care. It didn't get it, but also if there is another shutdown, to your point, SNAP benefits will be funded into the end of next year.
Yeah.
And then also other payments as well.
But it just makes you wonder where the federal government used to be a really safe haven for jobs for Black folks and for everybody else, but now they're just pawns.
All bets off. Everything's off the table.
Yeah, nothing's the same.
Nothing's the same. Everything's being derailed. People are being put in positions that are not experienced. The Justice Department is gone, and so that's why this election was so important across the board, across the country. You look at Mississippi. Mississippi picked up seats.
Yep.
You picked up Black senators, and and then what? I mean, it was like all the way around. DEI won.
Yeah, and that's the thing right there. Racism is expensive.
DEI won. We got
Diversity
in Virginia. We have an experienced DEI executive team. We do.
Yeah.
You know, think about it. So we want DEI, want on a DEIA. I'm sorry, I forgot about that because you got to add that A onto accessibility. Mm-hmm.
So you deal with Celebrate Healthcare, which is helping people with their Medicare and their Medicaid and their Affordable Care Act, health insurance and so forth. What are people telling you? What are you hearing, seeing right now?
I'm getting more calls from people that want to be navigated through on what to do. There are plans that are high, but then you have a bronze plan that has a very high deductible. But if you're a healthy person and only need to have your preventative care, it's good. But you're seeing many people get on the bronze plan. But I mean, it's high, and people are finding ways to make it work. When you say
it's high, give us a sense of what the numbers are. Do you know?
I mean, I
know it's different for each
it could
carrier.
Be $100. It could be $100. Depends on what you make. It could be $100. It could be $155. You know, whatever. Versus with them paying $0 or $25 or $30 or whatever a month, it could be. Even on the silver plan was good. The silver plan is higher now. But at the end of the day, you got more people going to the doctor. More people are valuing having their health insurance. It's almost like having a driver's license now. You got to have a driver's license. You got your health insurance. And people are used to having it now. They're accustomed to having health insurance now. So when you don't have it, you feel like you're lost because you see something could happen because in most cases, something had happened and their health insurance have saved them or saved their life. And so now you have folks that are saying, I got to find a way to have some type of health insurance. And I don't want to see anyone, you start using the emergency room as a doctor, going back to that. Or use these Trump care small skinny plans, as they used to have, they call it. It came out several years ago. He came out with something, it was these little plans that everybody thought it was good and it wasn't. You know, and you'll start seeing more of that. You know, but in Virginia, we're a state-run health insurance. We're the Virginia Insurance Marketplace, which protect us to a certain degree. So I would be interested to see how this General Assembly coming up will help with with SNAP, will help with Medicaid, will help with the insurance marketplace.
If you're just joining us, we're talking politics with the Another View Roundtable. Daun Hester, Gaylene Kanoyton, Allison Moore, and Dr. Eric Claville. Eric, you had something you wanted to add to that?
Yeah, I did. When you talk about the shortfall that we have in this upcoming General Assembly, prior to the fight for ACA, American Care Act subsidies, there was a roundtable of discussions by a special committee task force that was commissioned by Speaker Scott that traveled the state with legislators to talk about. It was even across it had both Republican and Democratic representatives. The impact of the cuts through DOGE and this impact on Virginia. That was a little bit over $1 billion that we saw, 1.7 billion. Add that on top of the healthcare subsidies, which was spoken during a congressional forum that was addressed, that was hosted by the Hampton Roads Business Chamber. When you look at in the Vice President Lane, who was former Secretary Arbor Lane, that spoke about the impact with Centera and what they're going to see. We're looking at about a $3.75 billion shortfall coming up in this legislative session, and part of that is a 4-year, but the other part of that is per year. So when you look at about 2.5 per year, and then of course when you spread across the other 3.75, it ends up being about 3.75, 3.65 across the board per year for the next 4 years. That cuts into our surplus, and of course we have to have a balanced budget. So then when you look at what's happening with that, something's got to get cut.
Something's got to get cut.
Things will not be on the table. Now, the governor withheld capital from a lot of capital programs from higher education institutions. So $900 million is still available, but that's only to help the first year of the first budget cycle.
They have to come up with the rest of the money from there if that happens. So let's talk about the blue wave that happened was that just last week that the election happened? So
like
much
about
has
6
gone
months
on.
ago.
I know. So I was doing some reading and I come across the governor-elect's transition team. And whose name do I see?
Ooh.
But Ms. Hester.
Absolutely.
Tell
know
us
her
about
phone
your
is ringing off the
position,
hook.
ma'am.
Don't call her. I'm her secretary. Call me.
Congratulations. Absolutely.
Congratulations, Dawn. And what will you be doing? And tell us about all the excitement.
Y'all know this happens every time there's a new governor. There is a transition team
Yes,
or
well,
president.
we know that, but you're the first person I've known
That you-
personally that
Okay,
is on
got
the
it,
transition
got it.
team, okay?
The task is to help the governor select the best administration that she can have. So it's vetting individuals, interviewing individuals, making recommendations to her.
So if people want a job with her on her team, they need to call you.
No,
She want to make that clear.
they need to go to the website
Right.
and they need to apply.
You want to make that
Put
very
their
clear.
name in the pot with their cover letter and their resume. And there are a lot of opportunities out there that she gets to a point. It's over 200 that she gets to a point. And then also I'm going to put in a pitch for boards and commissions, just like I would at the local level, but at the state level. I encourage everybody listening, if you have an interest in something, look at your local boards, your councils, and see what they have available. Your voice is needed on these boards and council people, and at the state level. We need new voices. And so if you're interested, have time, doesn't take a lot of time, but you do have to be interested in it. Well,
I accept.
some of them take a lot of time.
Yeah.
Okay, they volunteer. So, you know.
Yes, they do volunteer, but
they do shape. They help to shape the policy and the locality and at the state.
and as someone who A, serves on those boards, and B, also serves as a liaison to make, to find people and to help people get placed. I echo what you're saying. We need fresh voices at every level. Because if we don't participate in government, then government does to us as opposed to us having a say in what government is going to do.
So that's what I'll be doing up until January 16th, because inauguration is on the 17th.
Now you still say they can call you for tickets, right?
Yeah.
Don't call you for nothing.
Don't call you for nothing.
He said, don't call me for nothing. Absolutely.
We got enough going on.
hilarious.
So, Gaylene, were you surprised that Jay Jones became the Attorney General?
No. Let me tell you why. I said it on News Nation. I say wherever I go, you got a president that said over 40 insults and attacks publicly, and not one of his supporters spoke up. Not one. You have him dismantle things and just do all kinds of crazy things, and not one spoke up. But this particular election and Jay Jones, the Attorney General's race, was about protection. It's about being protected against the Trump, being protected against the White House, having your rights protected. This was about being protected against the National Guard coming in, ICE. This was about protection. And I always say this too. When Mark Herring was AG, he went to the Supreme Court like it was going to 7-Eleven. You see, and Virginians want to be protected. We know that this president, he's very vengeful. Very vengeful. And he's definitely going after Democratic states. So we have to have an Attorney General. And I'm so glad that former Attorney General Mark Herring is on his lead on his attorney as a lead on his transition team.
Yeah.
And he's got great people on his transition team. He will fight for us. So it was about the fight. Who is going to fight? Mayor Harris was not going to fight for us. He's going to do whatever the president wants him to do.
And he demonstrated that over the past 4 years.
Exactly.
So he had a record of not.
Exactly. He had a record.
Eric, what made the lieutenant governor lose? What was the big thing that took people over to the other side, do you think?
The lieutenant governor lose the gubernatorial race,
Yes,
or
the
lieutenant
gubernatorial
governor candidate? Okay,
The candidate lose the gubernatorial race.
gotcha. So there were many factors, in that, And part of the factor is that she wasn't really supported by the Republican Party to begin with. Many thought that she wasn't the best candidate to run. There is a factor of race and also gender that plays a part in that as well on that side of the aisle. And again, that also played a part in the lieutenant governor candidate, John Reed, who we knew, of course, in the very beginning, it was the issue, quote unquote, mini scandal between the sitting governor Youngkin and then the conversation that they had, not wanting him to be on the ticket. Primarily, the reasoning is because of his openly gay status that he has. So, which made history being on that ticket. The other part is that also has fundraising implications when you take a look at the gubernatorial race. If you're not supported financially, if you look at the fundraising statistics, even from the very beginning, Abigail Spanberger I'll raise her in every sector. When you look at from the 2024 time span when they announced, Abigail raised about 5.6 to 2.4 for Wisdom Sears. When you look at the meat of the race, which is all of 2025, except the last 30 days, it was 44 million to about 23 million. And then, of course, the last 30 days, you looked at 11 million to about 9 million for Wisdom Sears. Virtually even, but that's the final push. You'll see that all the time. So so it was about a $20+ million gap in the fundraising piece. I just looked at VPAP on that for the last couple of days. So we're fresh. I'm really fresh on those numbers. But then also just not resonating with the people in her stance with MAGA, her support of Trump's policies, also was distance herself from Virginians who were directly impacted by Trump policies, DOGE cuts, those that really want a checks and balance government as opposed to power collected at the top, those that don't like the abnormality of what government is as opposed to normal. And then, of course, just the big elephant in the room, which is Trump. They were souring on that, and to have a governor that sides with that really throw them off as well. And notwithstanding that the president himself, when having one of the largest, most historic stages, when he came to celebrate the 250th anniversary of the military, more specifically the Navy at the largest naval base in the world here in Norfolk, with her sitting there, did not endorse her, and when asked on Air Force One, did not endorse her by name, but more or less by party affiliation.
Right.
And then
vote for all the Republicans on the ticket.
Right,
That's
exactly. And then saying that the Democratic candidate was bad and things of that nature. So there really wasn't a lot invested from the president of the party. There was not a lot of money invested. And just overall, the debate performance, I think Virginia saw, and I think that was not a good look for the lieutenant governor as well, which was held at Norfolk State University, by the way.
Behold.
It was interesting and something that you said that made me remember. So Kamala Harris's book, 107 Days, where she talks about the race for the presidency and what happened with her. And she was talking about selecting a vice president and how she wanted Pete Buttigieg. But she knew, her words, not mine, her words, that America was not ready for a black woman and a gay man to run the country. Sure. And so Virginia being a microcosm, when you just said about Winsome Sears and John Reed, it's that same dynamic also.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's interesting.
I think it's interesting that this is the first time, I think, in history, maybe in the country, you just expert, you can look this up. But don't you think this is the first time that the Republican Party at the state level had a DEIA team?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's true. That is very interesting.
Time
Clock it.
ever.
That's what the young folks say. Clock it. Put your fingers together.
Okay, is that what I'm supposed to do? I gotta do that. Okay, I don't know what that means, but okay.
Clock it.
Okay, y'all tell me about that later. But I'm like, first time
That is
in their
interesting. You're
history
right.
That's true.
that you have an African American woman, a person from the LGBTQ community, and Jason, who is a minority.
But they didn't know it because they fired everybody.
Okay, but I'm just saying.
That is very interesting.
I'm just saying they
we had
got
DEIA
there.
all
They
the way
didn't-
around.
Right.
They didn't know.
We should be screaming that from the top of our lungs.
And it was not supported
Right.
by the party.
Well,
Right.
well
Which
even
speaks
on
to
the
the
Democratic
party.
side, though.
Right.
Yeah. Even on the Democratic side, the same
Right.
historic
But
candidates.
but we are all inclusive. We try to
we
be
talk, or at
most
least
of the time.
at least Democrats talk about it.
Yeah.
But the Republicans don't, and they did not support.
Because normally you
all
have all
three
white
of
tickets.
these-
I usually have all white tickets.
So all the inauguration process is historic, and that we're putting in 3 first.
So, what's the strategy for 2026? I mean, Virginia said we got Democrats all back in power all the way across the board, so we're done.
No, they ain't done.
No, we ain't
They
done.
need to
'cause
read the room.
We got
No.
355 days until November 3rd. And our role right now is to make sure that we win the House and Senate. Because whatever comes out of this election, what came out of this election, moving forward to the election in November of 2026. What are y'all talking about over here?
Sorry.
Because I was talking when I forgot I was on the mic.
They're talking in the background.
We're taking care of each
Singing
other.
in the
I'm sorry.
background.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
But the point right now is that right now the Republicans hold all 3 forms of government, the White House, the House, and Senate. If we have the House and Senate be Democrat, and then that will help stipends. It will help to stop Trump on some of the things that he's doing, a lot of things that he's doing. And so we have to make sure, as I said, this past election wasn't about being a Democrat. Even though I have my Hispanic friends saying, vote D, 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 all the way down the line. My Dominican friends, they were saying that. This was about your kitchen table. This was about your refrigerator. And people are woke now. They are paying attention. The young folks came out in record numbers. People who normally don't vote came out because it's affecting them, and they realize now that their vote counts.
Yeah, I think when you get to the point where it hits home, because a lot of times when we talk politics, it's very esoteric. It's way up here, where and people were like, it doesn't affect my everyday living. But when you go ahead, Eric.
No, look, you're listen, James Carville, Raging Cajun. It's the economy, stupid. It's all about the economy.
Yep.
So you mentioned where it affects you. Kitchen table is where it affects everybody. I mentioned it before. You don't get a paycheck. You like calling HR. Like, hello, I didn't get a deposit. What's happening?
That's right.
And a panic.
Right. In a panic mode, and you can kind of, maybe if you have some savings after 2 weeks, tap into it. You can call, mom and daddy or sister, brother, borrow some money, or after 2-3 weeks, maybe 4. But then you're talking about 6 weeks of individuals not receiving pay. That's crucial. I mean, that is making some life-changing and sometimes life or death decisions. So it was a renege on a lot of promises of the administration as well. When you look at, we talked about it earlier, quote unquote, make America great again. The economy is going to be better. He's going to make it better. So forth. A lot of people bought into that. A lot of supporters. They really did. Hook, line, and sinker. Right now, farmers in our farming belt across are really suffering right now, tremendously, because of tariffs, which were applied across the board unilaterally, that increase the cost of our goods, soybeans that we sell, all types of grains that we sell across the world. China's not buying them anymore because of the tariffs. So now that food goes to waste, all right, or you can't grow it. And then the farmers are in debt because you go in debt to grow, and then
you pay it off on the other end.
Exactly.
After you sell.
So then what ends up happening, USDA through the federal government actually provides subsidies for and buys that food up and so forth. Well, they're not releasing those funds. And in addition to that, in this last budget bill, the big beautiful bill, some call it a big ugly bill, there are farm subsidies, but they won't be released until later next year. In 2026, farmers can't wait that long. So it was reported just last month, 5 farmers in Arkansas had committed suicide because they can't pay. Life and death situation, right? Where art thou, my savior of the economy? They're asking. And to your point, they're creating $300 million golden lace ballrooms, at the White House, just tearing it down. they're taking multiple trips down to Mar-a-Lago to their own private residence, which is also stretching the local law enforcement in West Palm Beach resources, very thin, which they have to pay themselves and request funds, federal funds, to help buffer that cost. So the local economy is stretching. In addition to that, Doge cuts. I know people personally who have been victims of Doge, and those who are, of course, we probably all of us know people work for the federal government. They haven't received pay. I mean, these are things that are hurting individuals, and they're like, wait a minute, government as usual. This is not the way it should be. So they soured on those broken promises. So what's happening is now, because of that, there was a push by the Trump administration in order to help to force faithful Republican legislatures like Texas, North Carolina, and now Indiana, Missouri, to redraw district lines for congressional maps off cycle in order to buffet some of the losses that they'll have and make it harder for Democrats to regain control. In response to that, California has, to that, California has
Prop 50
approved. And then here in the Commonwealth of Virginia, the legislature passed a provision. They'll come up again now, then go to the voters. So we'll be voting for that come in 2026. And if that happens, it could very well be 10-1 lines were drawn in favor of Democrats here in Virginia. More than likely, I think it'll be a 8-3 that will stand any type of constitutional muster on the state and also the federal level. 9-2 will be tough. But you could look at District 1 and 2, Jen Kiggins and Rob Whitman, drawn out in order to favor Democrats because of that. So to your point, 2026, the strategy is elections is not an end, it's only a beginning. So the beginning time period is for citizens that are asking. American citizens are asking, government as usual, checks and balances, with care, not the meanness that we see from the administration and the complicitness and the endorsement by complacency or complicitness by the party loyalists who behind closed doors hate what's happening, but they can't speak up because they'll be primaried or there'll be an attack on their president.
They're afraid to speak up.
They are.
But let me just say this real quick. So the ones that was up, the people who voted for Trump thought they were going to be on a different list.
Absolutely.
And then they woke up and realized they're on the same list as us. That's number one. But number two, did you find it interesting?
Expound on that for our listeners.
Oh, on a different list?
Yeah.
Okay, so you had those middle class people, you had those, and you had the suburban women, and all these different folks in these different categories thought they was going to be on the billionaires list. This one is supposed to happen to me, and then they realized they're being affected just like we're getting affected. But let me just say this other thing real quick. Don't you find it interesting that normally it's the Democrats that talk about social issues? Even though we talked about women's reproductive rights and we talked about LGBTQ or whatever, the Republicans didn't talk about economics at all. They spent a lot of time on transgender, who's going to be in the bathroom with your child, when it's only 3% are against it. If you think about you look at the numbers, 3% of people, they're the ones that's up in arms. And the Democrats, that Republicans are known to talk about fiscal responsibility. The Democrats were talking about it this go round.
Well, it was interesting because it was almost as if the Republican Party across the board, in terms of all the commercials and everything else, they were listening to somebody else.
I don't know who they were listening to.
And they weren't listening to their constituents.
They did not have a message.
They didn't have a message. They didn't have a plan
either. They didn't have a message that told me what you were going to do for me if you got in office. There was no messaging that way. So I don't know. I guess they were listening. I don't know. I don't know that they cared. I think that they thought that they would win just because of the R. Yeah.
And then you had Miera sit up there with these sheriffs. They have all these sheriffs from these red areas.
In their uniforms.
They lock our people up. And they expected and they think our people was going to come out and vote for Miera's.
But expound on that a little bit, though, Dawn, because that did shock me. That I didn't think that people were supposed to be campaign within their profession. You know what I mean?
Those are your ethics. But it was done on both sides.
Yeah.
It was done on both sides. So I guess the rules for the sheriffs might be different because they're elected. Okay.
Yeah,
you couldn't have a police officer doing it.
Right. Exactly.
But the rules for the sheriffs are different. because
That is a good
because of
point.
that.
Because they're elected.
So we got about 5 minutes left, and
That's
I want
all.
you guys, I know, and to just give some words of encouragement or things that you would like people to think about as we go into this holiday season. Because I understand that the checks will be coming to these federal workers, for example, but they got a month's worth of bills to catch up on,
And late
and it's
charges.
already in late charges and everything else, and it's already next month, for all intents and purposes. And the holidays are coming. I'm sure that the pressure on parents and on others for, Thanksgiving dinner and for Christmas presents and so forth is a lot. So, Dawn, let's start with you.
Okay. What I got? 30 seconds. Okay, so I just wanted to say this though, because I'm off topic.
Okay.
Having control in the House and in the Senate means that our elected people are doing what the Constitution states. Because sometimes when people think being in control, what is that? There are rules that those two bodies have to follow, and every election is an important election. If you are able, support a family with meals, with funds to help them pay the bills, because what we don't know is if anybody who missed their mortgage, missed their rent, missed their car note, what those companies are going to do. Are they going to waive P&I? In my office, if you brought me a note that said that you were affected, then I put you on a plan so that you don't get impacted because you couldn't make a payment. So those are the things I think that those of us who have the ability to be able to do that should do that. If you don't individually, collective, you might have a group of friends that can bring the canned goods, some vegetables and stuff to put them together for people to help them with that. Or gifts, or give to your church, because, the bus might go around in the neighborhood like our church does and give out gifts at Christmas time, because it's going to be hard.
Okay. Daun Hester, thank you so much. Gaylene.
Don't argue. Don't argue over the Thanksgiving dinner, with your family members over this politics or whatever. Because I said before, don't argue with anyone that Harriet would have left behind. Just don't. Don't argue. Enjoy each other. But at the same time, if you can help someone, but mental health is so important. Suicide is up. So make sure that if you see something, say something, and make sure you get help for someone. And the last thing I'm going to say is this, because I'm doing a lot of these Medicaid and SNAP convenings, coalitions I've put together, because we have got to learn and be able to walk our people through the Medicaid and SNAP paperwork. And we got to help with work requirements. And we have to know what that is, because people are busy, so get to know that too.
All right. Allison.
I wish we would have had some more time right here on this. I would have loved to chat longer, but I'm just going to go with what Dawn said. Give somebody some money. And I don't think especially the millennials are as pressed about missing Thanksgiving dinner. A lot of them was going to go to their mama and stuff house anyway for the cooking, because why spend $500 in a whole day cooking is a lot of millennials thought. But they do need some money. They need to catch up on these car payments. They instead of cooking, just give me a couple $100. So that's how I see you should help the community.
Eric, you get the last 30 seconds.
Think about life is very important. We mentioned suicide rates. We mentioned mental health. Take time to appreciate what you have in front of you, but also take a look at your responsibility, civic responsibility. Look at what we have and understand that your vote and involvement does matter. And then lastly, with all things, make sure that you pray and continue to seek the Lord on all things, because all wisdom and guidance does come from Him.
Thank you, Roundtable. As always, I truly appreciate it. And audience, we hope you've enjoyed this edition of Another View and that we have inspired you to stay informed, enlightened, and engaged. You can listen to this show again or any of our Another View programs at WHRO.org, on Spotify, or wherever you go to get your favorite podcasts. Next week on Another View, Dr. Alvian Lyons on navigating family dynamics during the holiday. To your point, Gaylene. theme. Our theme music is an original composition created especially for Another View by Jay Sennett. Lisa Godley is our show producer. Jordan Christie is our audio engineer, and Dr. Barry Graham answered our phones. I'm Barbara Hamley. Stay safe, stay warm, be kind to one another, and let's get together again next Thursday at noon for Another View.
Support comes from Hampton Roads Community Foundation, carrying out your charitable wishes forever, whether it's helping shelter animals, feeding the homeless, enhancing the arts, or supporting students. Learn more at leaveabequest.org.